Okay, so that finished, which means I should be able to just reconnect in here. Oh, because secure Docker, do you even exist as a user? I have to install as root. Vivax, hello, how are you doing today? Hey, hey. Ad break is done too, so just in time. Just fixing all the lint warnings errors you forced on yourself. Oh no. Or maybe, oh yay? The turning on the linter and then fixing all those things is the easiest way to get the maximum amount of lines changed in a code base. It's funny, scary. It's all the fun things you get to do with the code base. PanLab, hello. How are you doing today? Making great progress. That's good. Good or great progress is always great, right? Okay, so first of all, do I have this as a user? So if we go to home, we do have secure Docker. Okay, so excellent. So we have that user. Everything is good. Now we don't have Docker, right? No, we do have Docker because we did install Docker. So everything is good. The biggest change is throwing out all the panics and getting some proper error handling. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is a thing. I guess it depends on the project, but like oftentimes if it's like a sort of like a toy project that I'm running, I have panics everywhere because it's just like, this isn't going to be real. But I can totally see that we do this and then like the company's like, hey, by the way, that's real now. Great job on the prototype. Prototype has become real. Can you start adding features to it? And you're like, shoot. Okay, so we need to turn you into a list of into I guess like the lesson of what we're going to work on. And there's a couple different things. So first off, we need to describe why Docker without sudo is dangerous. Oh, and we've been doing this all inside of because this is gonna be in a terminal because we're in the DigitalOcean droplet. Okay, I'll be using iterm. What? Why can't I make this left? Well, it'll be fine. No, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, I literally can't make you go further to the left. That's cool. That's really cool. Thank you for that. I guess what I'm going to do, I can't move the window at all. What did I do? I did something. I'm going to move the chats over here so I can read them a little bit better. That's exactly how the project started. It was supposed to be a minimal code base to bootstrap the proper compiler, but then technical debt caught up with me and I realized writing a compiler in this language will be hell if the error messages are just type error somewhere in your code. So fuck yeah. That's like the opposite of what the Rust compiler team does with their error messages. Like instead of like they're like, okay, everything is gonna be okay. Here's what happened, and here's what we suggest to fix it. And it's more like, no. You done fucked up. Fix it now. That'll make working on the code base really nice, right? Okay, so don't need that. We move you back over here. I want to SSH into you. Okay, so here you are. We're on Linux. Docker's been installed. We have our hello world that is sitting here, and everything is going to be great. Okay, so describe why running Docker without sudo is dangerous. And there are two reasons for this. The two reasons are we just want to, I guess the big reason is, okay, just a reminder, like Docker's running as root regardless. And having that there is, hey, it's a reminder. You're now doing something as root. Be careful. If we don't have that sudo there, we might forget, oh yeah, we're totally just playing with root as not root. Yeah, that was an idiotic idea from the very start. It'll just be a few weeks until work on the real compiler starts. I don't need error handling 2 months later, and I'm not even close to down with this V0. Isn't that the norm? I mean, that's like every project ever, right? And the thing that gets me is how easily it is for us to delude ourselves, even though it's like maybe the 100th project we've done, where we're like, oh yeah, it totally wouldn't happen to us this time, and then it happens to us this time again, and we're like, next time I'll remember this, and then the next time, of course, we totally don't remember it. Okay, so next up, so okay, we'll talk about the dangers of root, and then the breaking out part. Remove Docker privileges for the kernel. So I want to go to you. I'm smarter now. Gets me every time. Yeah. It's shocking how easy that is to have happen to us. This is like the third project I have decided to retroactively start enforcing better practice and hence spend a few weeks just fixing a bunch of shit. Yeah. It's I've now come to realize that just setting up all the Docker stuff from like day zero is the way to do it. Because like set up all those things right away to enforce like us being smart and good practices, and then we don't have to think about it later, and it'll just be fine. Okay, so that's that, and then the command is going to be the security opt command. Okay. Map the container root user to a host non-root user. Okay, and then that is user namespaces. I think we used this blog because it like worked for us. No, this was like, yeah, this was the blog post that was linked to us. Cool. Thank you for that. I guess it's because it's okay. It wasn't that one, I don't think. Not that one. Was it these security profiles? No, these are AppArmor security profiles. Oh, these, the SecComp security profiles. That's what I want, right? Yeah, security opt. Okay, so yeah, this is what we want here for that. You're making great progress. Started with 400 warnings a few weeks ago, down to 30 now. Excellent. That's good. It's always nice to also set up CI/CD to like turn those warnings into errors and then deny. Okay, and then this is the default profile, right? Yeah, it goes to seccomp, this one. Okay, so I want the order of which is going to be, all right, this, then this, then namespace, and then this, which is like a, please don't do this. Toggobit, hello. Also, Raid and Run, so you're probably already gone. But hello, Raiders. How y'all doing today? And how was Toggobit stream? Yeah, I don't know why the sound isn't working for me, which is strange because normally I get a big sound when the raid happens, and that's odd. I think I rebooted the computer today too. You have the sound? I didn't. Oh, okay. I did not hear the sound. I must have had the volume way too down on my speakers. Well, that's too bad. So well, sorry about that. But also, hello everybody. How you doing today? And how's Togglebit's stream? What was he working on today? And I guess like what we're working on right now is a course article on Docker security. So something to make Docker a little bit more secure, especially this is focused on Docker Engine. So basically, if you've installed Docker on a Linux machine as opposed to like using Docker Desktop on your Mac or Windows machine. If you do that, you get a VM and you get a little bit more security protections than you would normally, or at least than Docker Engine people get. However, Docker Engine people do have some options to like make things just as or even more secure than Docker Desktop automatically gives you by default. And I would not be surprised if most of this is capable to be done with Docker Desktop as well, especially the I don't know about the root user part. That's probably not possible. but it does that on its own. I was thinking of more the capabilities. That might be what we can do. Okay. I think this is going to be it. I can come over here and set up Canva. Okay, so where did I put? It's probably in here. Right, okay, so I want to duplicate you. Okay, so I'll probably recreate new slides for everything. So until then, this is really just like to remind me that this section is starting. So what do I want to? Oh, did I lose the? Okay, so what are you? This is Docker Engine Security. What am I calling? Running Docker without sudo on Linux. I think I want to rename this to actually no. I kind of like doing that and then tricking you and saying, "Hey, clickbait," but like reverse clickbait. Like you're now forced to learn something that's even better than what you wanted to do initially. But then I'll also let you do the thing you wanted to do initially. But maybe also like Docker Engine Security. I don't know. I might rename this all. It'll be fine. How do I full screen you? Oh, I do that. Oh God. I am sparkly. Have I been sparkly a long time? Huh, I don't look sparkly on this screen. Interesting. All right, much better. Okay. All right. So as normal for these type of things, I'm gonna turn off the Twitch alerts because apparently I can't hear them, so I don't even know if they're gonna bother that. So I'm gonna turn off the Twitch alerts. I'm going to mute desktop audio. Okay, all of you are muted anyways, except the mic. We just have all this up. This will be fine. Over here, I'm gonna switch over to that, and we're gonna start with Docker security. And we have you up running here, so we have Docker running in there. I have my article up on the left, so I can review that whenever I need to. And that. Now I have I moved all the chats off screen. You're on my right monitor now, so I can still see it. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments about Docker or what we're talking about, please feel free to continue posting them. If they're relevant to the video as I'm recording it, I will do my best to sort of integrate the answer in. Otherwise, I'll answer it as soon as we're done. I don't know how long this is going to take. I'm guessing it's going to be like a 20-30 minute video or so, because there's sort of like a decent amount to talk about with Docker security. Also, I'm going to leave that over there so I don't just like constantly drinking a giant pink drink in front of in this video. So I think we're ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead. Thank you. Let's see. Where do I want to start with this? Probably, okay, let's start with docker.com. And then we'll move over to the right with this. All right, let's do this. Take, oh, and I forget. My Stream Deck started working again. Okay, excellent. This morning, I logged in and my Stream Deck was completely like just non-functional, which is not great. But that's probably also the reason why the camera wasn't functional either. So unplugging and plugging in all the USB did fix it, which is nice. All right, let's do this. In this video, we're going to be talking about Docker Engine security, specifically so that we can, potentially, what can we do if we wanted to run Docker without sudo? Because you may have noticed that on Linux, if we want to run Docker without sudo, and here I'm logged in as root, so obviously I don't have to use sudo. Let's go ahead and switch over to an actual like non-root user here. If I try to use Docker images command, it just tells me, hey, it can't actually connect to the Docker socket. We can't do anything. But if I run sudo Docker images, it's going to ask me for a password. And there we go. We're able to now run Docker commands. But what if we don't want to run Docker with sudo? What would the ramifications of that be? Well, there's a few different things we want to sort of keep in mind when we're using Docker, especially Docker Engine, because Docker Engine is as close to the operating system as we can possibly get, and that's the reason why Linux is the only one that can get that. If we're on Mac or if we're on Windows, Docker Desktop is how we have to install Docker, and that installs a VM for us behind the scenes. And the VM adds this layer of protection between, well, Docker and our operating system. For Linux, we're running just Docker Engine by itself. Now, we could install Docker Desktop on Linux, and it will install a VM for us behind the scenes, but we're going to lose all the speed benefits that we get from just installing Docker Engine on its own, because that's the problem that Mac and Windows have, is that speed. So can we have our cake and eat it too? Is there some way for us to be able to have Docker be a lot more secured, maybe even enough for us to be comfortable running without sudo, possibly? Let's talk about the different things that we can do. And also let's talk about like why we don't want to run with sudo, even if we secure it. So the first one is, well, Docker is running as root. And anytime that you run something as root, it's a good idea to match that with sudo. If nothing else, then to remind ourselves that we're running something as root, and that something could be dangerous. It could do a lot of things to our systems. And knowing that and just sort of being reminded that is a good idea. Now, the second reason is maybe a little bit more nefarious. If we remove the sudo requirement for Docker, so that way you just can run Docker itself, then a possible bad actor could implement a Docker script into a program that we're trying to run. It could behind the scenes run a Docker command. Well, normally we might not think that that's very bad, but remember, it's running as root, even if we remove the sudo capabilities. So what could they do? Well, imagine that they mount Docker to a file directory that you normally wouldn't have read-write access to, and now they can run commands on that as root because, well, what's inside of Docker? Well, root. So now bad things can happen. Really bad things can happen. And that could even happen to your own home directory, and things can go wrong. So again, because we don't want Docker to run from someone else too without our knowing, that's where the sudo comes in. Because if they run it and suddenly it's like, hey, you're asking for sudo access, you want to like think about like, do I really want to give them sudo access? Are they really trustworthy? Things to keep in mind. So that that all being said, let's talk about things we can do to make Docker a little bit more secure, something a little bit more trustworthy for us. And we have a couple of different things that we can do. So first, we can set up a seccomp security profile for Docker. Now, Docker has a default profile for us, which there's a link in this document right here that takes us to the default security profile. Now, note that I'm in the branch 25 because I'm running Docker Engine 25. If you're running a more recent version or an older version of Docker, you'll want to find that one in the list here. And if you go down in this document, we're going to see there is a large number of commands essentially that are runnable. Now, be aware that, like, for example, clock adjust time. If we come back to here, it actually tells us that clock adjust time is not allowed. These are some of the disallowed. This documentation is not up to date. We've taken a look, and it looks like these are all, the documentation is there is a pull request that was, or there is an issue in a pull request that was set up for it, but it looks like they're not being kept up to date, which is unfortunate. So if you want to see what is allowed or is not, go to the actual file and take a look through it. So let's set this up. First, we're going to do a demo. We're going to show off like how to, like, you know, that we can do something beforehand. And then we're going to implement a new custom version of this profile, and then see that we cannot do that anymore. Let's go ahead and set up a, I guess here we are right now. Let's just set up a Ubuntu image. So we're going to do a sudo docker run. We'll do -it. We'll use the -- remove because I don't care about keeping this image after we log out of it. We want to run a volume of the current directory to / let's just say data. And finally, we want Ubuntu latest, and that should be fine. So if we run this, there we go. Okay, so we're inside of our root container as root. This is great. And now if I want to do a make dir, and we just call it like test from default Docker, I can make the directory. That makes sense, right? We've done this before. We've run commands that make directories before inside the container. This is understandable. Actually, I'm in the wrong directory. I need to go to / data, and now let's run the command. So we're going to say make dir we'll just call it test. And there, we see the test. If I exit out of the container, the test is here. So Docker container is allowed to run the command make dir on our system for us, which makes sense. We've done that before. Now, if we come back to here, we can actually find the make dir command in the allow list. There it is, make dir. So what happens if we don't have this command? Well, let's go ahead and I'm going to copy this entire file, and we're going to create a new command. We're going to create a security profile here. So I'm going to call this, I guess, profile without sec profile without make dir. Do that and quit out of it. And okay, so I now have this sec profile without make dir. So let's say we're going to run the same exact Docker command, except this time we're going to run the security opt option here. So before we call Ubuntu, we can use -- security opt, and then seccomp equals, and then I need to give it like where this profile is, which is this sec profile without makedir.json. And once again, we drop into the container. Let's go ahead and cd into /data, and we see that test. Let's go ahead and now try to make another directory. So makedir another test, and that worked. Why did that work? That didn't work in the last demo. Oh no, we're gonna have to redo. We're gonna have to redo it. Oh. I'm probably gonna cut out this part of it, but I know what went wrong. Okay, so now that we have this sec profile, we have to make sure that we actually remove the makedir from it in order to actually remove the ability to run the makedir command. Let's go ahead and jump back into there, find makedir, and we're going to delete you. We're going to save and exit, and now we're going to run the same exact sudo docker command. This time we're going to run it with another option. So as we can see, we add in this -- security opt seccomp equals sec profile without makedir. So that's just this file. And then everything else is going to be exactly the same. So we're overriding the default seccomp profile that every Docker container runs with. So if we run cd into /data, we can see a couple directories in here. I want to now try to make dir cannot make this dir, and now we get cannot make directory, cannot make this dir, operation not permitted. Even though we're running as root definitely can make a dir. In fact, we did it right before, but the profile is saying that this container isn't allowed to make dir, even though we've brought in the volume as read write. So this is a way for us to lock down the permissions that the containers can do for us. And we can, something we might want to do is just go through and take a look through these. Do you ever need any of these commands? Like, do you really need the clock set command? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you don't need it, go ahead and remove it. Now, the idea is that the default profile is supposed to be pretty good and like trying to remove as many things that you don't ever need, but enough people need them that Docker has added these in here for us. So things to consider. So that's how we can like limit what we can do with like from the containers. And we can imagine that if we removed like a remove directory, then now we won't have some of these commands won't be available in here. I guess this is allow. So remove directory is allowed. We have a bunch of these other things in here. We just probably wanted to like go through and like create our own custom profiles, especially if you're running this in production on a server. You might want to like have a really locked down version of this profile. Okay, that's the profiles. We still have another problem though, which is that the user itself inside of the Docker container is root, and that user maps to the root user on our systems, which obviously is a security concern. Because if they break out, well, the user ID in the container is 0. Well, what's the root user ID outside the container? 0. So if they break out, they're the root user and they can do things. Now, Docker says that the root user, there will be some commands they won't be able to do. It won't be like true root, but it will be close enough that it won't really matter because they'll be able to do extremely damaging things to our systems. So what can we do? We can do something called a namespace. And a namespace allows us to map the root user inside the container to a non-root user in our system, which is really nice because now this means that our containers still root inside, like it still has root access inside the container, which is great. You want it to be root in there, but now if it breaks out, it's just yourself, or maybe it's like someone else. And root does something, the namespace does something really cool here. It actually gives us a map, a range of user IDs that you're hopefully don't exist. And if it breaks out, it's going to become one of those IDs, which means that it won't be able to do anything at all. Like unless there's some kind of 0 day that allows somebody to do something without a proper user ID that maps to anything else. So this is probably, like, combined with the previous thing, this is going to be really, really good security for running root inside of a container. Let's go ahead and set up a demo for this. We're going to start with switch to, let's see, exit out of the container. I am going to go to var temp, and we're going to create do I want to create this as root? I'm going to exit out of secure Docker user, and we're going to do this as root. I'm going to make a directory called I don't know, we'll just hello. We're going to cd into hello, and we're going to create a file. So it's vim hello world.txt, and we're just going to say hello from root. Okay, now obviously I can cat hello world from root. Now if I switch back to secure Docker, and we switch to /var tmp, I don't think, can I not even go var tmp? Why can't I even see hello? Where was I? I didn't actually cd in. Oh, I did this in roots directory. Hold on. Let's fix that really quick. Wait. Let's cd out of this. Let's move hello to var tmp and back to secure Docker. var tmp. There we go. There's our hello. Now, this has executable permissions for other, which means that we can cd into hello, and it has read for hello. Sorry, I didn't cd into hello. It has read for hello world.txt, but it doesn't have write for hello world.txt. So obviously I can read this. That's not surprising. But as my user, I cannot edit this. So if I try to like vim hello world and add like change in read only file, I got a warning there. If I try to do something to this, like hi there from non-root, and I try to exit while saving, it's going to say, hey, I can't do that. Add a exclamation point to override. I can't do that either. Like, it's just not going to work. There's no way that Linux is going to allow me to update this file as the non-root user. I don't own it. I'm not even in the group for it. And also the group doesn't have permissions. So we have to just exit without changing anything. Obviously I could use sudo to update it, but that would be as the root user, which is, not really part of the demo. So let's go ahead and run this as in Docker though, because we're in secure Docker. So we're going to use sudo docker run it rm. We're going to volume mount dot to /data. Let's see, I'm not gonna run with any of those the profile, because the profiles, we don't have anything for editing stuff. We're just going to go into Ubuntu latest. Okay, so if I jump into here, we go into /data. There's our hello world. Let's go ahead and try to update this. First of all, do I have Vim? I don't have Vim. So what I can do is I can echo a message. So hello from root in Docker to hello world. And that works. So if I cat hello world, we now have that hello root from Docker. And if I exit out and we get cat the hello world again, it has updated that file, which is not great. So this is further along with that reasons of like why we might not want to run sudo, not why we want to have sudo with Docker, because if we don't have sudo, we could just update root files and as ourselves, like it just allows it to happen. Any scripts allows, might be able to do that too, which is again not great, not ideal. Now let's see if we can use the namespace to prevent this from happening. So in the namespace, we want to, there's these two files here. And there's a couple things that we can do with this. Now to begin with is come down to our prerequisites. Okay, so we have a user, so that's fine. There's these two files, and we want to check to see if we're in this. Now on my system running Ubuntu, it automatically added my user to these two files. So let's go ahead and take a look at them and what we can see. So if I cat u, we can see that there's only one line in here. Root doesn't need this at all. It's just non-root users that have this. So we have secure Docker 100,000 to 65,536. Now if I ID secure Docker, we can see that my user ID is 1,000. That's way below this. So what's going to happen here? When we set up the namespaces, the root user inside of Docker is going to essentially get an ID between this range, which obviously is way higher than my ID normally right now. So if something were to break out somehow, then it wouldn't be able to do anything at all, which is great. Or at least it shouldn't be able to do anything unless, as the aforementioned 0 days allows it to. The other really good thing is the namespace is going to allow us to lock it down to be our user. Whatever permissions we have, we can now do. So if we own the file, as in secure Docker owns the file, it can update that, but it can't update the root file. Let's go ahead and continue the setup. All right, let's double check that we're in the sub GID, and you'll notice that it's the same thing there. So another range of group IDs. Okay, great. We're going to update I ran this command, and this is like one-off. I want to run it more permanently, which is going to be here. So we have to edit the docker daemon.json file. This one we have to do as root, so I'm just going to do sudo vim that. And this actually file didn't exist at all, so we're creating it. And I want to add in something like this. Okay. Obviously, our username needs to go in here. So it's secure Docker. Secure Docker. I'm going to save and quit. Okay, excellent. Now, once we've done that, we need to restart Docker. And there's a few different ways to do this. Obviously, we can just reboot the entire server. That would be one way to restart Docker. Another way, I'm on Ubuntu, so I can do the service control, or I can also do service. So I'm just going to use sudo docker, no, sudo service, docker-d restart. Sorry, Docker restart. and that's going to go ahead and restart Docker Engine for me. Now doc remap, you'll see in the documentation, this is a default user that you can use if you use default in that file, but we're using our own user, which is going to remap properly for us, which I'm perfectly fine with. So we're going to come down here. Everything should be fine now. Now previously, let's see, I thought it's a little bit too far away. And now that we've done this reset, I can't show this to you. So at the beginning, I had the Hello World Docker image, and we obviously downloaded and used Ubuntu. So now if I use sudo docker images, we don't have any images anymore. What's happening? So it's moved, it's namespaced all of the Docker stuff to, I believe, my home directory. And we can actually see this if I cd into my home directory. Oh, no, sorry, not my home directory. It actually saves it to, actually says where exactly it is. Varlib Docker. So if I go in here, there is now a, oh, permission denied. I need to exit out of root, cd into there. I can now see, hey, look, here's this user ID, group ID. It's now saving all my stuff into there. So all like all of the like the Ubuntu image that we're about to download, it's going to be re-downloaded as this new user, which is great. It now can't, well, hopefully, if it breaks out for some reason, then it's going to be completely separated. It's going to be its own thing. All the previous stuff we were working on were just in here. Like that's all the volumes, all the other stuff. So that is something to be aware of, is that once you switch over to start using the namespace, everything we had previously, it's not gone. It just is not available to us, which again is probably a good thing. Okay, let's switch back to our demo again. So we're gonna see you back to secure Docker. We're gonna go into var temp hello. All right, so now that we've set up our namespace, let's do the same command again. So sudo docker run. We want the it remove volume / data. I think that's going to be about it. And we're run Ubuntu latest. And now it's going to download Ubuntu as our namespaced user. Okay, we're in here. Noticed it didn't have to download everything, did it? Like, even though I don't see the image there, it clearly has access to some of the other layers. There's still some like caching going on behind the scenes, which is making it a little bit faster for us, which is nice. I'm gonna cd into / data, and there's our hello world. So let's now try to, first of all, let's see if I can access it. I should be able to. I can read it. Let's do echo another hello from root in Docker, and I'll put that into hello world. Permission denied. I can't do it. Even though I'm root in the Docker container, I can't write to this file. And that's because this root user is no longer the same root user as, well, previously. It's now, I believe, got, can I see ID root? I mean, it still thinks that it's root ID 0, but it's also not. Like outside the container, it knows that it's something different, which means that if it's a file that we created, the secure Docker user, then we're going to be able to write to it because, well, it's us. But if it's root or some other user, it can't do that anymore. So again, another level of protections. The root user is no longer quite as powerful outside of the container. Okay, so let's say we've implemented these two security things and we still want to remove sudo from Docker. Well, if we do these both and we've set it root that it can't do a lot of things, we've basically crippled root user inside the container, so it's a lot safer to use without sudo. I still would recommend using sudo just because Docker itself is running that. Now, there is a system to actually run Docker itself without root, but I wasn't able to get it working. Something to like take a look at. It's called rootless mode here. And I have a link to it. I don't have a link to it in an article, but you can find it here in the documentation. And the idea here is that you can install Docker as a non-root user. That way you can run it without sudo because it's actually just nothing about it is running as root, which is great. Now there are some features that you just don't have access to anymore because you would need root for Docker to work with it. But for the most part, I don't think we'd miss those. However, unfortunately, when I tried to get this set up for writing the articles, it didn't work. So I'm not including it in this course. Now the other thing, let's say we actually want to remove sudo requirements. We can do that. Down here, let's see, I'm on Ubuntu. In the post installation steps here in the documentation, it actually tells us, hey, here's how to run Docker without root. And it's not that hard. All we have to do is we have to create a group called Docker, which if I let's see, I think it already is created, but let's go ahead and run the command anyways. I'm out there. Let's we have to do this as root. So I'm going to go ahead. I guess we could do this as that. Let's switch over to the user. So, sudo group add Docker. Docker already exists. So the group already existed. If I did that, there's no user Docker. I would have to do the group, I forget how, I have to look through it. And I don't want to run the command right now. So I'm going to skip that. Okay. So add your user to the Docker group. So I want to now run sudo user mod ag docker, and then whatever our user is. If we take a look at this environment variable, that is just our username. So we should now be able to user mod add our user to the group Docker. Okay. And then we should log out and log back in and then see that we work. Now I'm SSH'd into a DigitalOcean droplet for this. So I'm just going to go ahead and log out completely. We're going to reconnect just in case. I probably didn't need to reconnect and re-SSH in. We're going to su to secure Docker. Let's see if this works. So if I want to Docker images, there we go. Now I'm able to run Docker commands without sudo. So it's as easy as that. And you can control which users on your system are able to now run Docker commands without sudo. That being said, once again, I don't recommend doing this because even if we've set up all the security things which we've previously mentioned in this video, there's still possibilities for bad things to happen. The best way would be that rootless mode if we can get it set up. And that's it. We've made Docker as secure as we can, and we've also gone over how to set up Docker without sudo if we really want to. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this has been helpful, and I will see you in other videos. Bye. All right. That's that. There's going to be some things I have to cut out of there, but it'll be fine. Let's turn you back on. If you go back on, you'll be fine. Okay, let's see. Waleed, hello. How are you doing today? And also Fit, hello. Did I hide building a Twitter clone with Axum from YouTube? I did not. Or at least I did not, that was not something I tried to do. Let me check. Let me see if I can find it in my list. So it was what? Twitter clone? Maybe it's Twitter. No, those are from a really long time ago. Okay, so, oh, but maybe under live. See, that was public. Okay, stream archive, X Twitter clone with U plus Rust. Oh, but you want the okay, you want the one with Axum, right? Axum plus Rust. Okay, so I have the finishing. It says that they're public. Yeah, let me, if I go and grab shareable link. Here's a list to that video. I'll also put it on YouTube. Fit, that, hopefully that should work. Let me know if you can't find that. It was called X/Twitter clone in Axum, and I believe that's how all those videos were titled. So you should be able to find them. And I believe that they're in a playlist too. Vivax, remove dir feels like something you would 100% remove for most applications. Protect your data from destruction. I don't care if you create more data. I just don't delete any. What I'm kind of surprised about is that remove doesn't exist in here. There's remove dir. That's it. So even if you remove, you can still rm-rf, which kind of sucks. Because I could swear I've removed things from inside Docker. So that's something that you're not allowed to set that you can't do. Oh, an ad break just started. I didn't even see that was starting up. Sorry about that. Okay, Fit, you found it. You've been, okay. Awesome. Great. Unlink? Is that a command in here? Unlink? Unlink. What does unlink do? Isn't that the same as link? Sudo docker run, what was I doing? Drago, hello. I heard the audio this time. So I didn't have my speakers up high enough. Drago, hello. How are you doing today? How's your stream? What are we working on? Oh, you know what I can do? I don't have to do this in a container. We're on an Ubuntu system. We can just look at this. Unlink. Call the unlink function to remove the specified file. Oh, is this actually just removing? I don't think I've ever used unlink. Interesting. Cool. So yeah, it's kind of a remove of a file. Zubby, hi. What's up? Hi, you wanna come up and hang out? Hi. Why don't you jump up? Come on up. You wanna come up?